Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and welcome if this is your first time listening. Thank you for joining us for the Lion Pridecast, a podcast created by the Lansing Unified School District 469, located in Lansing, Kansas.
Yeah, so the purpose of this podcast is to inform our Lansing stakeholders, those being our community members, our parents, our students, our staff, all about the things education, especially here in our fantastic district.
It is a fantastic district. So we're your hosts. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning, Miles Aza.
And I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing, Sharon Burns.
And on this episode of the Lion Pridecast, we will be discussing and sharing our core values and beliefs using a popular essay and storytelling idea known as This I Believe. I'm a big fan of this essay or this idea of this, I believe. I believe it was a radio show back in the 50s. I've been doing it with my students for a while. I do it with my college students to this day because it really gives me a chance to get to know them and their core values. Right. And I think we had talked about it, right, Sharon, that this is our hope that the listeners would get to know a little bit about us, right?
Yes, this is going to be a little more personal. Just jumping right in here.
As we embark on this podcast journey together, you're going to get to know us a little bit more, which is great.
Right. So
we're going to be doing two sides of it. Yes, thank you. So we're going to be doing a personal and we're going to do a professional. Typically, when I do this with my students, it's usually just a personal one. But since this is a podcast for our district, we thought we'd do both. So you're going to kick us off, right, Sharon, with your personal one.
Yeah. So my personal, this I believe, are very, very simple. Seems straightforward, but I think a lot of people overlook it and don't do enough of it. The first being, I've got two. Kindness, which again seems very simple, but if you know me, I would hope you would consider me a fairly kind person. I feel like I got that from my mother, and I hope that I'm passing that on to my children. I have 4 boys, so I think people underestimate the importance of just being kind. Like just going to the store and getting a simple compliment from somebody, even if it's just my shoes, my top, my hair, it makes my day. And so I try to pass that along. And it's genuine. I'm not saying like baking it, just legitimately, if you see something positive in somebody else or something that, just makes you smile or that you just appreciate, point it out. You have no idea the impact it has on other people's lives. So that's my number one.
What's that saying when it comes to kindness? Like kindness is free or something like that, or it doesn't cost to be kind or something. I love that.
Yeah, and you don't realize the impact it can have on an entire day. I mean, really, seriously. The other, which goes along with it, is just having empathy, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, especially somebody that's different from you. If you have the gift of empathy, you can connect with people in ways that you just can't imagine. I don't know. I mean, that's something that I wish more people had, and I feel like you can learn it. I feel like you really can.
It's funny you say that because I was going to ask you that as a follow-up question. Is some people believe empathy can't really be, it's not that it can't be learned, but they talked about it. It's very difficult to teach someone to have empathy. But do you believe that somebody can acquire that?
I do. I really do. Yeah. So I mean, again, mine are simple and seem straightforward, but a lot of people don't get it.
And I would say that the world would be a much better place if
I agree with you.
Kind
and
empathetic.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Okay, so your turn.
My
Let's
turn.
hear it.
So it's time for me to be personal. Mine is pretty straightforward too. I think people that know me would agree with this. That I believe that you should try to find the bright side of things, and just to be grateful overall. It's not easy. Sometimes there isn't a bright side of things. And so that's probably where it's best just to do your best to be as grateful as possible. But ultimately, I think that if people could think more about, even in a solution-based thing or just in the world of like, okay, this didn't go the way I want, but what are some positives, or what am I happy about that I can maybe think about, and so it doesn't ruin my day or doesn't ruin my outlook? Because I think being a positive person, so maybe I should have said that for the most part, because I think people would say I'm a positive person, an optimistic person. I think it's something I'm proud of myself for having, that optimism or that positivity, because I think it opens so many doors, because it doesn't allow me to think immediately that things are not going to work out, or everything that comes to my plate or comes to me is a negative, or I have to find the reasons why something doesn't work. So almost like a glass is half full kind of thing.
And you're a happier person because of it.
And then I know it's kind of cliche right now. I've noticed it kind of comes up a lot, the idea of being like grateful or practicing gratitude, but I do think it's something that we should keep in mind and talk about more. And that's something I try to do. I try to be, what am I grateful for? What do I have gratitude for with? And
and there's a song look on the bright side of life.
I think that there is.
Can you sing?
I cannot sing, so but now you have to. So,
No,
you
no.
got our
I shouldn't have
listeners'
said it.
hopes. Yeah,
Yeah.
next time either of us say a song
Yeah.
or reference a song, we have
We
to
have
sing
to
it.
sing
Deal?
it. No, I don't think anybody will listen if we do that.
Okay.
We'll
After
lose
we
our
have a
subscribers.
million
Okay,
subscribers,
let's go to
we'll do that.
professional.
Okay, professional. Am I kicking off this one?
Sure.
Okay, so I am. You know what? No, I want you to kick off this one. That way we can go
Okay.
back and forth. So
Okay.
go for it. What's your professional?
So my professional one is kind of something that we've been trying to do this year with the district, which is unifying the district. For many years, I think we've operated as silos, our buildings kind of separate, and I think you could kind of feel it. If you had a parent that had a student, I know myself, in different buildings, you really felt it. Trying to get away from that. I know we started that last year with really simple things, but this year we're really going to drive that forward. So doing things like spirit days and things that we're doing all together as a district. And we're working with, especially with the new admin that we have this year, with I think bringing in those new, fresh ideas. We're really working as a team, and I love that. Another part of that is celebrating one another. So that would be in our buildings and also as a district as a whole. I think oftentimes, people get in their own ways. They don't learn to celebrate other people's successes. So lifting us up just like a team, I think we need to do more of that. I'm working on that. Like, we're going to be starting to call out more people for their exceptional things. I know Superintendent Wessel and I, we do our Lion Lowdown. We do shout outs during that. And I think that's important, to where we can really raise people up, and then everyone should celebrate that.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason I love those academic spotlights that we do.
Right.
Because I want people to see the great things that we're doing. And yeah, it'd be nice if we got used to calling out and celebrating great things and great work.
Exactly.
Because our teachers, if you're listening right now, you all do amazing work, and
all of our staff does.
Yeah, so it's not just our teachers.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
So thank you, Sharon. That was a really good one. I'm going to switch over to mine, which is a bit cliche again. Apologies for that. But I was going to talk about how every education to me is everything and cannot be taken away from you. And the reason I bring that up a lot of times is I talked about this at convocation about my dad's background, and I won't go into too much detail, but my dad's accomplished quite a bit. He was a refugee from his country, Palestine, and at the beginning he wasn't a refugee. Everything was just fine, and then after an occupation, he was put into a refugee camp, and he worked his way up, and eventually got to a point that he had the highest degree possible for engineering, and he was a doctorate in civil engineering. And I'm super proud of him. He worked for Burns McDonald and did all this great stuff and all these accomplishments. But I remember more than the accomplishments. I remember something my dad said to me quite a few times, which is, son, I don't care what you do in life. I don't care what happens, but get your education, because they can take away your car, they can take away your house, but they can't, I don't know who they is, but they can't take away your education. Like, when you have that, it's yours. And so that's kind of my belief when it comes to education, is that we need to realize that it's more than just to pass a test or to get into college or to get a degree or certificate. Remember, when I say education, I don't mean a college degree all the time. It could be a certificate, it could be a tech program, it could be whatever it may be. But ultimately what I mean, though, is to get some sort of new knowledge base that's going to help you in the future. And I love that he instilled that in me. And because he instilled that in me, I kind of think that's why education's kind of become, I guess, my love and my home, if you will. So, because I do love this stuff. People that talk to me, I feel bad for them, because I talk their ears off. So
yeah, that's great.
So before we wrap up this episode, what are your thoughts? Let's tie a bow on this.
Okay.
People know that that's my line. Apologies.
It is. I've heard that a few times.
Apologies. Let's tie a bow and take our personal and professional beliefs and really kind of meld them together for this podcast.
Right.
So go. What are your thoughts?
Well, mine's simple.
Sorry to put you on this. Go ahead.
No. I mean, kindness, empathy. If we, as a staff, all had that for one another, I mean, the unification, celebrating. I mean, it all goes together. Mine's easy. Mine super easy.
Mine is pretty easy too. I think actually is the idea of being on the bright side and optimistic, and then realizing that education is really important. I think that is okay for us too. Maybe it's not as easy as yours, but I think that the ultimate aspect of that is, if we realize that we are equipping our kids here in this district, our students, with a knowledge base and something that they can use and go out in the real world and do something amazing with. Once again, I'm not talking about just test scores or reading level. You guys know how much I talk about reading, but knowledge and the ability to not be taken advantage of, to be able to be a critical thinker. I think that's the kind of stuff that if we do that, we are going to be sending our kids out to be doing wonderful things. And I think that that's what's going to be great for our podcast, because we can give better ideas. We can talk to people. I can't wait to interview our next person.
Right.
We're going to be interviewing someone soon.
Yes, I'm hoping Dr. Penrose at the high school. Hopefully, I think we've talked him into it. I think he'll do it. I think it's going to be exciting to have our new admin come on. So Dr. Penrose, then we'll have a student. We've got a couple ideas for that. I'm excited to bring in some students. And we have, Martin Altieri,
new
our
principal. So we got
school
two new
principal.
principals.
And then Becky Jones, our assistant.
3 new principals.
So yeah,
they've
reached out and said they wanted to be a part of it. And I also want to give a shout out to Sarah Lyons with Love More Times, because she's going to be doing a story on it, writing us a story on us. So.
I thought you were giving a shout out because her last name was Lyons, and this is the Lion Pride.
Yeah.
Buzzing.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. That's my joke for this.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
It's as good as it gets.
So she's listening right now, and she's like, "Where's my shout out?" So go ahead.
What, Sarah?
That was a shout out?
That was a shout out.
Okay,
thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so 11
writing.
more times. I think it's coming out I think she said around August 29th, maybe. So watch 11 more times for our story. Excited about that. So thank you to Sarah and 11 more times. If you like our content, want to stay up to date on the latest episodes, please follow us wherever you're listening to us and leave a review to help others find us and learn more about our great district, Lansing USD 469.
I love it. One last thing I'm going to say is, and I think this is different than other podcasts. If you want us, obviously, if you'd like to be on our podcast, we have no problem with that. Reach out to us. But if you have an idea, a topic, whatever, please, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, definitely.
So send us an email. Actually, Sharon, why don't you give your email?
Yeah, so send it to me, Sharon, SHARON .Burns, BURNS, at USD469.net.
And remember, like I said, not necessarily that you want to be on the podcast. I mean, that's fine as well. But if you have an idea, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, or a shout out of some sort, please feel free to do that. I'm going to be selfish for a minute and tell people to remember about my academic spotlights.
Yeah.
I just did an academic spotlight at the middle school, so pay attention to that. It's going to be coming out next week. A couple great science teachers.
Yes, and I'm going to be selfish and tell everybody to get the Lansing USD 469 mobile app.
We have an app?
Don't.
Okay.
It's not even funny.
App,
so if you have the app, you can be the first to know of all things that are happening in our district, including snow days when the weather changes. You don't want to be the first one to know when school's canceled.
Yeah, that's the way that we're going to get people to do it, probably. They're like, I don't really know if I need it.
About.
This is how you get your snow day. Yeah, I already downloaded
it.
Right. In the 4 seconds that there was a gap there. I'm pretty excited because last week we were like, we did it. It was our first podcast episode, but really that was just the intro.
This is like the first official one. So I'm feeling good about it.
We just finished our first episode.
So thank you for listening. We're available, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music.
Yep, and subscribe.
That's right. Good job, Miles.
I'm not really into that kind of stuff, but I follow some, on YouTube. Like, do we also like? Is that a YouTube thing?
Let's just wrap it up.
We're going to go wrap it up. Please subscribe. And
thank you.
Yeah, we did it. Thanks a lot. Finish our episode.